go time.
Turn left after a quarter of a mile.
Back in Abiquiu. Plus side, extra breakfast burrito. And 3 weeks later, we just drove 5 hours from Canyon City to get me back outside of Abiquiu. So if this looks familiar from the day before the fall, yeah, pretty much. So the fall happened on October 7th, and unfortunately it is currently October 31st. This has blown a rather nice period of weather out here. So it kills me that I was sitting around inside for all of it. Part of why I went radio silent for so long is I was just in limbo. I kept hoping a couple of more days and I'd be back out a couple of more days. I kept improving constantly, but just never enough. I was really pushing hard to go back about a week ago, but it didn't feel like it was ready. Right now I'm pretty confident in my calf. My Achilles is aching a little bit, but that's not unusual for me. I have tight calves and I have to kind of baby that at the best of times. I was just worried because I knew once I came back, if I came off again, that was it for the season. It's, you know, a 10-hour round trip to and from my parents from here. So it was better to wait a little longer than it was to try and rush back. At the moment, the calf is pretty good. I was doing 8, 9, 10-mile hikes, and it would ache a little bit at the end of the day, but not that kind of bad feeling. And honestly, the bigger problem I'm still having is my left wrist, which I tweaked when I went down. The calf was distracting pain, so I barely noticed the wrist until I started hiking. And trying to support myself on my left trekking pole tends to activate the tenderness. But that I can work around. The inability to bend my knee or crouch down or any of those things, that was a much bigger issue. Even if I'd stayed out here, I wouldn't have been able to crouch down to use a cat hole or anything. It just really kills me because I felt like I had such a good setup. You know, I had plenty of time. The weather was getting mild. The terrain was getting more mild. Should have been easily finishing sometime in November. And now there's no way I don't push into December. If I do 15 miles a day from right now, red line miles, obviously, I'll finish the second week of December. Jen and I had a house rental starting at the end of November, but we talked and both of us agree it's not worth leaving this undone just to get back to town early. I don't have any commitments that really need me until late December anyway. So we'll see what I can do. So at this point, I really am just taking it a day at a time. And I mean, on the plus side, when I was here before, I was making comments about how I was in front of the bubble of southbounders and I prefer to be in the back, not the front. Well, here you go. 3 weeks off trail. I am now pretty firmly towards the back, though it looks like there were some people still coming through Creed and southern Colorado. One guy was posting out of Winter Park 6 days ago, though you never know if he's doing the entire thing or just section hiking or something. Those two Swedish gentlemen that I was jumping back and forth with, they're way down south now. They were at Doc Campbell's in the Gila a little while ago. If the video looks any different, like the colors are off a little, I am on a new phone. I had ordered a iPhone 15 Pro Max and it got delivered while I was up in Canyon City. I do the trade-in plan, so they take the old one, refurb that, sell that used, and send me a new one. Huge improvement in battery, and the camera upgrades, since I'm making these videos constantly, have totally been worth exchanging them every year. Beyond that, in my food bag, I didn't swap anything much out. I already had my cold weather gear. I got some replacement tent poles for my Nemo because I had broken one a while back and I had it patched. And I just asked him how much it would be to buy a new set because I was worried the patch might fail eventually, even though I've been beating him up for over a year with that patch. And they said, oh, for free, we'll just send them to you. So if you're wondering why today is a full day and I'm not kind of easing back into this, it's the water carries. Similar to when I came back on trail after Nora last year, wrecked me so bad. It's a 15-mile water carry. So I either have to carry a good amount of extra weight in water to stop before that, or make it up and over. Considering the climbing was basically done where I got hurt, I figure up and over is the way to go. I mean, on the plus side, winter has arrived. It is much cooler. It was actually down to 2 degrees on the drive over, though it got back up into the 30s. As long as the wind's not blowing, it's actually pretty nice. So good news is, at least I go through less water, which will make the long carries good. Or at least a little easier. I heard there's a 24-mile dry carry on the other side of Cuba Grants, which that's fine. Any longer than that, you start having to look seriously at your water usage. So my intent has not changed unless there is a fire closure, unless it's absolutely not doable. You know, meaning there's like a 75-mile water carry. I intend to do the red line and finish this properly. Funny thing, I was adding up the miles I've done so far on the CDT, and I got more miles than some people I know who went monument to monument. Because, you know, you walk the roads and things like that, it cuts off quite a bit. I really want to have the CDT just done. I don't want to have it hanging over me for 2 years. Because next spring I'm doing the American Discovery Trail across America. And there's no time to, you know, warm up, finishing up a couple hundred miles out of New Mexico. So if for whatever reason I can't finish it this season, this is going to hang over my head probably until pre-Yukon in 2025. I'll have to do it in spring then. And it's already driven me crazy having it over my head this last year. So I'm just hoping I can manage to pull this off. This section is 60 miles into Cuba, figuring probably closer to 4 days, since I just don't know if I'm up to 20-mile days. The days are getting a lot shorter now. So that usually costs me time, since I don't like to hike in the dark in the morning or evening most of the time. And video time in the morning, yada yada. Plan is to probably get a hotel in Cuba, top things off, do a resupply buy-in there, and then I push 104, 109 miles, something like that, to Grants. The box my parents sent me is still there. The post office said they'll hold it till the 16th, so I just have to get to Grants during postal hours before the 16th, resupply there. And then Jen was about to send a box to Pie Town when I had to get off trail, and we didn't want to send anything we might have to retrieve. Interestingly enough, New Mexico gets significantly easier, both as far as the amount of gain, never mind the hill I'm climbing up now, terrain, and also the towns are mostly right on the trail. I only have one more town I have to hitch into, and that's Winston. And if Winston sounds familiar, I was there during the Grand Enchantment Trail. It's where I spent the night outside of a community center and had to hitch way back on a dirt road. So, as I've been saying, I already have the Wi-Fi password. I'm looking forward to visiting again. It is really frustrating that I'd done 500 miles through Colorado, you know, suffered, huffed and puffed up at altitude. The things were finally feeling like they were firing on all cylinders, especially once I got back into the relative lowlands here. And now, 3 weeks off trail, barely being able to break a sweat. I wasn't able to hike normally until about 4 or 5 days ago. So when the urgent care diagnosed me with a calf sprain, we looked into it, and normal recovery said 2 to 3 weeks. I was basically ready to go at the end of 3 weeks for what I needed to do. I mean, obviously, there's returning to activity, and then there's returning to through hiking, where it's activity without break, you know. I was worried about getting out here doing a 15-mile day and then not being able to hobble around the next day. But I stayed a couple extra days because big storm came in, dropped like 4 or 5 inches of snow on Canyon City. Didn't want my parents to have to drive through that. I'm just glad I'm clear of the San Juans, because without defaulting to one of those low routes I refused to do through there, it would have been game over with this last set of storms, I think. So I'm almost back up to where I fell, and this is frustrating. There's new ATV tracks or something up here since I've been up here. That's what I was hoping to get, not a helicopter ride. Once you hit the button though, you're kind of in somebody else's domain, so you gotta go with whatever they decide. And I guess in this case it was a remote area. They didn't have resources that could drive up here, so they did what they did. And if this spot looks familiar, this is where they picked me up. So far so good. The trail through here used to follow this dirt road, it looks like, and then they rerouted on the ridge, which is still cross country. There wasn't actually a trail cut there. I decided it was probably tempting fate to go walk that ridge line again. Watch me fall on exactly the same rock. And it basically just parallels this road for a short distance. So far so good. I do kind of figure the make or break is more likely to be tomorrow, but I'm hopeful as long as nothing else major goes wrong. And what are the chances of that happening on the CDT? My mindset out here most of the time is one day at a time, and that's very much where I'm at right now. I'm out here probably for another 5-6 weeks, depending how things go. Hopefully it goes well and I can continue, but one day at a time. Okay, so I skipped the part of the ridge where I fell, but I decided to come back out here because I wanted to see the view again. It is rather spectacular around here. That's looking out towards Ghost Ranch and Abiquiu. Oh, I have missed it out here. So at least so far so good. I'm at about, I don't know, 11 or 12 miles coming down the far side of the mesa, so I should make the 15 to be able to get water before it gets too dark. And my injury seems to be holding up relatively well. So per my beta, this river up here is kind of muddy, so there are a couple of kettle troughs a little bit beyond. And I'm pretty much done for the day. I'm gonna get water, start looking for a place, see how my injury holds up in the morning. Milky. Yeah. Welcome back to New Mexico, huh? Okay, 6:15. Gonna be dark soon and get cold. So the weather actually isn't that bad right now. It's gonna be getting warmer over the next couple of days, but it is supposed to be down below freezing every night. Last forecast I looked at in Abiquiu was 17 degrees. So yeah, looking forward to getting into my warm sleeping bag for the first time in 3 weeks. This did go about as well as I could have hoped for. If I seem not quite as jumping for joy as I was when I came through here last time, it's just concerned that it's all going to get taken away from me and I'm going to have to, you know, jump off trail. Because if I have to come off trail again, if, you know, the injury is not good, then that's it for the season. Last throw, last chance to make it to Mexico. And home sweet home, brother.